The League of Nations was the first worldwide government organization whose principal mission was to maintain world peace. It was founded on January 10, 1920, following the Paris Peace Conference that ended the First World War. It ceased operations on April 20, 1946. The organization's primary goals were collective security and disarmament and settling international disputes. It also concerned itself with labor conditions, just treatment of native inhabitants, the arms trade, global health, prisoners of war, and protection of minorities in Europe. The diplomatic philosophy behind the League represented a fundamental shift from the preceding 100 years. The League lacked its own armed force and depended on victorious First World War allies to enforce its revolutions, and they often were reluctant to do so. Several statesmen suggested the foundation of an international organization to settle international disputes. Two of the most prominent were President Wilson of the United States, Lloyd George of Great Britain, and Jan Smuts of South Africa. The League of Nations had two main aims: to maintain peace through collective security. If one state attacked another, the League would restrain the aggressor by economic or military sanctions. Their second aim was to encourage international cooperation in the solution of economic and social problems. The aims and constitution of the League were set out in the Covenant of the League, which was written into all the peace treaties concluded in Paris. Membership originally consisted of the allies who signed the peace treaties and neutral states. New applicants would have to be approved by 2/3 of the Assembly. The League was composed of several institutions. First was the Assembly, of which all member states held one vote. It met annually. There was also the Council, which was composed of the United States, Britain, France, Italy, and Japan, who were all permanent members, with 4 additional elected members, which met at least 3 times a year. There was the Secretariat, led by a General Secretary and financed by the members of the League. The Secretariat organized the meetings and carried out the decisions of the League. There was also a permanent International Court of Justice, which consisted of 15 judges who judged points of international law when both parties to a dispute brought a case to them. It sat at The Hague in the Netherlands. There was also various commissions and committees. The main commissions handled mandates, military affairs, and disarmament. There were also committees for labor, health, narcotics, refugees, women, and children. The League headquarters and most of the institutions were housed at Geneva in neutral Switzerland. The International Court of Justice was located at The Hague in the Netherlands. Member states undertook to submit disputes to arbitration, to refer disputes to the Council, and not to go to war for 3 months after a council. They also worked to reduce armaments and agreed to take economic sanctions against a member which resorted in war. If further action were needed, the Council could request contributions from members for military action. Offending members could be expelled. Unanimous agreement would be required for decisions, except where otherwise agreed. Member states also agreed that all treaties should be made public and should be consistent with the principles of the League. The colonies of defeated countries would become mandated territories where the well-being and development of the peoples form a sacred trust. The powers also agreed to undertake to look after them, reporting to the Council, advised by the Mandates Commission. Lastly, members undertook to cooperate for the common good, for example, concerning conditions of labor, colony subjects, drug trafficking, and health matters, to bring existing organization in these fields under the League, and to encourage the Red Cross. The United States, having played a major role in setting up the League of Nations, refused to join. The Republican-dominated Senate refused to ratify U.S. membership of the League. The usual reason given is that they were pursuing an isolationist strategy. However, the U.S. at the time engaged in a naval building program designed to allow the projection of U.S. power across the Pacific. The main Republican objective was that the League infringed upon U.S. sovereignty and the rights of U.S. Congress. For example, constructing a system of international law and order would hamper the actions of the United States, now the most powerful nation in the world. Also, as one historian named R.A. Stone points out, some U.S. Republicans were appalled that the vote from Liberia, Honduras, and India would equal that of the great United States. They were simply not prepared to treat people of non-Caucasian races as equals. The Japanese were offended by the rejection of her attempts to a statement of racial equality written into the Covenant of the League. The Australian government had also objected, as well as the United States. With the Central Powers in the USSR initially excluded, the League lacked legitimacy as a world body and appeared to be a club of the victors. Lastly, the League possessed no armed forces of its own, and so would be dependent upon the cooperation of its members to enforce international good behavior and punish misdemeanors. But events in Turkey already showed that the changing the facts on the ground to one's own advantage by force seemed to serve a nation's self-interest better than cooperation.